Howdy there, folks. Hope everyone's doing alright. I've taken a couple days. I haven't been feeling so great. It's just been a really long ass week, right? Um, yeah, I've slacked off on my reading of Project 2025 a little bit. I'm just knocked out. Oh, I'm still reading it. Picking up little snippets here and there. Had to throw that one out on Threads today because I don't think people really are actually reading it. Joy read threw something up on there about, the media basically allowing fascism in the door, which is kind of part of what this is going to be about today. Media, Congress, all this noise. Russian disinformation and misinformation, the whole nine. But she put a post up, and I was basically kind of like, yeah, again, do not obey in advance. But how the media has seemed to bend the knee, legacy corporate media, for access, quote unquote, to the other side. And then they get in there and they don't even ask the right questions. They're not pounding them on the chinks in their armor. Abortion, economy, the just total freaking white Christian nationalist fascist playbook. That's 900 pages. That is Project 2025. There's even the shooting. I'm not calling it an assassination attempt anymore because we have no information. No credible, total information as far as when Biden got the COVID, and boom, all the medical was out there. Minute one. Trump supposedly got hit, but didn't even, I think the only thing I've heard is he didn't need stitches. Don't know if it was shrapnel or a bullet, and he's out there spouting he took a bullet. No, but there's nothing. There's not a lot coming out about that now. All of a sudden, it's just faded into the background. Other than their godlike Messiah nonsense about him, which please, what about the people that were hurt and the man who got killed? Your God one protecting? Come on now, that's just some stupid bullshit. But you see my point. There's not a lot of information there, so I'm calling it a shooting right now. I've been seeing some other crazy posts about people talking about, the kid had foreign bank accounts and this, that, and the other. That sounds like Russian disinformation, misinformation. Again, people have good media consumption. If you see something like that, go fact check that shit. And I'm not talking Fox News, ONAN, Newsmax, the right-wing media sources. No. That's good media consumption. Fact check. Fact check, fact check, fact check. That sounds like straight out of a Russian bot farm. Trying to throw information out there because they do that. When there's an event, say like Saturday in Butler at the rally for Trump, the minute there's some sort of event and something happens, boom, those conspiracy theories start getting plugged out. You can track this back again in the Senate Intelligence Committee report back in, I believe, 18. Republican-led. It was bipartisan, but it was Republican-led. Said, yes, Russia interfered with the elections. They traced back to St. Petersburg. They're spewing this out, and it never stopped. It has never stopped. Now, with this being election season, it's ramped up. So anytime something happens, you'll see these crazy conspiracy theories come out there. And because things have gotten so skewed, people latch onto it and grab it and take it, and it's all from the disinformation, misinformation farms out of Russia and China, and other nefarious sources. But that's why you have to have good media consumption. If it's out there, I mean, hey, that could be totally plausible that a 20-year-old had those sorts of things, and again, it comes back to looking like the Lee Harvey Oswald thing. Like, okay, which way are we going on this? You know what I mean? So, just, again, good media consumption, people. There's just been so much. But I made that comment, I'm coming back, about, you know, the legacy corporate media bending the knee for access, but they're not asking the right questions. And yet all of this stuff is going on. They're putting Biden versus Biden, not Biden versus dictatorship and white Christian nationalism and losing our freaking country. And they're still going on about his age, and he has said a gazillion times since the debate in 3 weeks that he's not going anywhere. And they don't want to hear him. And now it is coming around to finding out that the donor class and the Beltway people certainly have just lost the fucking plot. And the ones that are starting to turn are in challenging races, and they want that donor class money, which is threatening to be pulled up and down the ticket. You see how that goes? You always follow the money. Always follow the money. So they're threatening up and down the ticket to pull money, and now look at the turncoats. Even though some have a very good track record and have done well for the, they've done good things for the people in their time. Not some, so much, but if they had a good track record, you think they could run on that? No, they want that money because that's what Citizens United did. Blame SCOTUS. Blame Operation Red Map and SCOTUS. Blame Roberts Court for Shelby County. Gutting voting rights. They're all connected. And so you got the turncoats. And it was just really the chatter class at first in the legacy media, it seemed. But who owns legacy media? The donor class, the billionaires. And you know why they don't want Biden? And they're donating to Trump, and they're all in, and tax cuts sunset next year. 25, they're gone. Biden's like, yep, pay your fair share. They don't want that. They want those tax cuts. And they think, these oligarchs think in this the billionaire class and the donor class, I'm talking big donor class, not us little donor class now, mind you. And I'm talking donor class, it's them big boys, not us. Because they're the ones that can throw down 10, 20 million in a pop or whatever. Like, we can't do, we ain't that class of people. But Biden's gonna let the tax cuts go. We're gonna sunset. And he wants to break up the monopolies of big media and other corporations. And the weird thing is obviously these folks didn't read Project 2025 either. It's the last chapter about the FTC. Oh, they thread it in there. It's like a threat. You can read it. Just the last few pages, in fact, about the FTC is basically a veiled threat to big tech and all of the other big conglomerates around. Like, you toe our line, or we're gonna come bust you up. You do what we tell you, and we'll let it go as long as you do what we say. I mean, that's the vibe I get from it. Be good little people and get in line, and we won't poke you, and we won't take you. Well, and I don't even want to say break them up, because if they go the way that it's reading, they'll just go take it. And I don't know how these oligarchs think they can control them all, so they let out the cable. I don't understand. They're just somebody on a podcast the other day. I think it was Titus and Highlander were talking about. They look at quarterly. I think it was Titus. It's like they're thinking in a business scope, in a quarterly report. They're not thinking long term. They're just thinking about the next quarter. And they're not thinking about what happens down the road if this, shit show gets in the house. and the circus unload. I just don't think they realize what they're doing, and they think it's going to benefit them. And then Trump did say something at a rally today, I think something about good people like Elon Musk donating $45 million a month to him. We're going to, good people like him we're going to take care of. What about the people? And then, that has been a big problem with all of this, is the Beltway class not being in touch with the people, and the Beltway is the DC folks, politicians and whatnot. Then you've got, and me bitching about that on threads all the time, like, the Beltway class and the donor class does not pick the ticket. We the people pick the ticket. And then somebody else got on there and said, why don't they have an open primary where we can pick? I'm like, okay, you gotta be a bot or some shit like that, because you can't be that stupid. We already had primary. We picked our ticket. We're done. They just don't like what Biden is old. We know that. We're cool. But he got experience and he knows what the fuck he's doing. And I'll take that over some lunatic who wants to hand the keys to the kingdom over to the white Christian nationalists and make it not 1930s Germany. No. With their white power movement. Hell no. Yeah, I'll take the old man. The older man. And his lady VP any day of the week. Any day of the week. He could be propped up like Weekend is in Bernie's and I will take that. But the Beltway class, they don't see outside of their bubble. And the donor class, they just want what they want. And Biden is at that place where he's working for the people. The real people on the ground. And the media is not even reporting that. Like with the jobs reports and all of this stuff that's good that's going on. They're not reporting it. They're framing it with this slant of how low unemployment is too good. Like, you shouldn't. No. That's why legacy corporate media, and I'm seeing on the socials, a lot of people just ditch them, which is good, and you should. And keep pounding them every day. I still follow Majority Reed, Katie Fang, Melissa Donald. I'm on the fence about Rachel Maddow. She was wishy-washy there for the whole RNC shit a little bit until towards the end, and then this whole Biden age bullshit. She kind of lost me. Like, but then she goes on The View and says what Project 2025 is and what's going on. It's like, why aren't you? I know the corporate masters, but Joy kept trying to steer them back. She did. She was trying really, really hard. I only seen her parse her words that one day, and she was even trying to weave it in there. They just would not bite. And, Chris Hayes went off, and then he come back, and it's like, you people, legacy media need to earn it. And I would watch Reverse Shot over American Media with Ryan Town. They did a really good podcast today about what's going on in the media, and it's worth your time to listen to. It's only about half an hour, so it's really worth it. And Phil Ittner, he's in Ukraine. He has a podcast called On the Edge, I believe. He's supposed to have a really good one tomorrow on Sunday about Russian information and misinformation and disinformation, and how it's never stopped. And it's really amped right now, especially with all this stuff going on. If there's an event or something, man, they just throw shit out there in the wind, and people pick up on that and think it's real, and it's not. That's why you need to have good information sources, and a lot of independent media is the best way to go. And I'm not talking about influencers, I'm talking about independent media, or people who are actually bringing you real information. So by the way, before I forget, I did a little clip earlier about Ohio. Ohio is purging about 160,000 people from inactive voters. I mean, people who haven't voted in like how many, like 2 or 4 cycles or something like that. And they're purging them if you haven't voted. So that could be anybody who's just inactive, died, moved, what have you. So if you haven't voted in a while and you think you might be on that list, go check the Ohio Secretary of State website to see if you are on that list. You can also go on vote.org, vote.gov, or type in Ohio voter registration if your registration has been purged, and re-register. If you haven't registered, Republicans led states like to do this, and I'm not calling them red states anymore. I'm calling them Republican led states because they all can flip people. We have seen it. Stuff like North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, so they flipped red. They used to have blue. So they're just Republican led right now. We have the power to change that. Bo did a good video on that today over on his page, or yesterday, about it, and it's really worth watching because I'll get into it in a minute. Let me finish with Ohio. If you haven't registered, go register, because they like to purge more closer to the election in the summertime, because then it takes you a while, up to maybe 6 weeks to find out you've been off the rolls, and you have 90 days to register in some places to vote before the election. So you see how that works? And then they shut you out. It's a form of voter suppression. So go on the Secretary of State website in Ohio and make sure if you haven't voted, or go, if you do it digitally, go check your registration, make sure it's valid and all that. And if you're not, then go re-register. If you haven't registered, go register anyway. Vote, people. This is the last freaking time. Vote. So back to what I was saying. The problem with Washington and the media and all of this mix is now the donors are threatening to pull money, or are pulling money, and people are scared, saying, oh, Biden can't win for us. And I went on threads and I flipped out, and I'm like, it's not Biden's job to win for them. It's their job to win for them. I said it on my one podcast, and I was very upset with that. That they are caving to the money. And AOC also did a good Instagram live there the other day. You can find it on YouTube as well. And I highly suggest people listen to it, because she's in these meetings and she's hearing it, and they don't have a plan. And I saw Lachlan the other day saying something about open convention and this. It's because they're passing over hairs. They want a white boy. And the thing is everybody thinks there's like 3 months and some change. No, actually there's only a month and some change. Early voting starts in September in some places. No, they don't have that kind of time. We're way past that window, and they don't have a plan. And those coattails of Biden's they got room, but they just want the money. And so they're turncoating. And I suggest people remember that. I know this year is one where we need, coming back to Bo's video at the voting, I mean, we need to take this, we need to trifecta. And I'm not talking about the little margins that we've had here the last few years, where we have, like these last 3 years, we've been able to get some things over the finish line, things that we really needed, like the John Lewis Voting Act, and the voting rights bill, and all of those things, and Roe, and everything else. We can't get over the finish line because the margins are too small, and you got those 1 or 2 holding out that don't want to do the right thing, because the GOP thinks everybody else is the fucking enemy now. Oh God. Anyway, where we used to, I mean, I'm old, I remember when there used to be cooperation and negotiation, and not everybody was happy, but there was compromise. That shit's out the door. I mean, my God, they even tanked their own immigration bill, for God's sake, because Trump said not to, and want something to run on. Jesus God. This is politics. It's money. It needs to get back to the people. We need to get Citizens United the fuck out of there. That was in one of the bills that they wouldn't push through. They couldn't get it over the finish line. because of the small margins. We need bigger margins. And even when we've had it, say back when Pelosi had both houses and under Obama, and we were screaming about Roe and SCOTUS because decisions were starting to come down that were wonky, and we're like, we need to look at them. And like, they didn't do it. Now, granted, they might have not have taken it seriously at the time, but I genuinely think if they thought they had the votes, she would have done it, I think. Maybe, maybe not. I could be wrong. But I don't think, maybe they could have got it through the House, but if we didn't have that 60 in the Senate, it would have just died anyway. So, that filibuster is a killer in some ways on our side to have those protections and have those rights for people. And GOP uses it against us all the fucking time. And they use it to their advantage as well. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword because we're able to use it to stop them from stuff too. So, it's a hit or miss thing with that filibuster. But if we could get the margins, then that wouldn't matter. So that's why voting, even if you don't want to do Biden-Harris, you need to do Biden-Harris because they're going to save your ass. As far as, up and down the ticket, with the turncoats out there right now, it makes it really hard. I've even said, if California peeps could get a write-in thing going for Katie Porter, that would be awesome, because she never should have lost that. I mean, she is about the people. Adam Schiff, he's always been a ladder climber, which is easily vibe to get from him. I mean, he knows his stuff, but he's a ladder climber. And I would hate to see us lose out because people are not going to forget this, what they've done. And that could cost us. And say Trump could somehow, by all the legal maneuvering, they've already got in 50 states lawyers out there to challenge everything for the election because they have come out and said if he doesn't win, it's rigged. The only way they'll accept it is if he wins. Think about that, people. And then you've got Vance. Okay, he's 79, 78, 79. Vance is 39. Trump is a liability. But the billionaire class and the donor class want to throw money at him, and they are. He's got puppet masters now. He is not his own man. By fucking no means. They're funding his ride. They're funding his lawyers. They're funding it all. And the pro team they got in with him around him now. He is not his own man anymore. It's like he used to spout that bullshit. He never was. He never was. But it's worse now. But you got Vance. And he's a big liability. They just want his people to get him over the finish line. This MAGA bunch. But even there's fracturing there too, because you got the Nick Fuentes, he's mad because Vance's wife is what they call a brown. Like, could you be any more damn racist? But there's fracturing in there. But that's not a huge group. I mean, Bill O'Reilly was on Jon Stewart the other day saying there's 4 million people watching him like that was big shit. There's 8 billion people on the planet, dude. That ain't nothing. He's very full of himself and smug and whatever. But, Vance is a lot younger. He's a young Trump with a more vicious streak who will say and do anything to climb the ladder. Anything you want to hear to climb that ladder. How long before Trump's liability catches up with him and they push him to the side to crown Vance the heir apparent? And we get an even worse dystopian vision. I mean, it's dystopian enough now with what they're proposing. Page 595 of Project 2025, getting rid of child labor laws. So, I guess with quote-unquote parental consent, children can go to work in dangerous jobs. With them not wanting to have people educated is It is deliberate. An uneducated population is easier to manipulate and easier to keep the boot on their neck. So just go be good little worker bees. And of course kids are going to have to go to work because they're going to raid everybody's money. And they're going to, not only the 16 noble laureates have said that Trump's economy would just, his plan would crash us. Other economists have come out and signed on to a letter. He will tank our economy. He will tank it. With the tariffs and stuff, and people don't understand economics and they don't understand that stuff. And yeah, if you import something and you put a big tariff on it, the company doesn't pay that. You as the consumer pay for that. So instead of paying for $100 TV, say they put $100 tariff on it, you're paying $200. That goes to the government, so you're actually kind of getting double taxed with all the sales taxes and all of the other stuff that you have to pay to get that. You're just kind of getting screwed with tariffs. We pay for those tariffs. That comes out of the pocket of the people who are paying for the product. It would tank. I mean, it tanked the farmers with the tariffs and the war with China before. He again crashed that. Then we had to go pay more money to bail them out. He's not good at economics. He doesn't even understand NATO. This is, yeah, he's 3 bricks shy of a load anyway, but he ain't got the savvy for this, and the people around him are sycophants who have an agenda. But that makes me wonder about these. And a lot of mention in Project 2025, China is the big bad now. Russia is thrown in there infrequently, but China, CCP, all over the place. They're being touted as the big bad. And it's funny, I was watching House Sparks the other day. I always suggest you go check it out. It was him, excuse me, I'm definitely feeling good, I apologize. House Sparks had Texas Paul on the other day, and they were doing a clip about, I'm assuming it was, I was listening to it while I was working, and it was the Chinese military, and then military from India, the Indian military, and they weren't fighting with weapons or anything. They were throwing rocks at each other. Fucking rocks. China's the big bad, though. And again, they don't want to do negative Chinese press about how their economy is free-falling right now. Their military got restructured, and I think Xi, had some sort of health thing going on right now. There was some restructuring. This was a couple months back, and it was a blip in the news for a day or two, and then it disappeared. Because they want to keep them like we did for Russia or the Soviet Union during the Cold War, and then we looked like we were on good terms with them when it just became Russia, and then they became the big bad again, and then look what we got with Ukraine. They're not the big bad everybody thought they were. Anybody with a nuclear weapon seems to be the big bad. They want to oogie boogie, which I don't understand. It's like self-defeating. Y'all want Mad Max? Really? Come on. I don't know anybody in the world that wants that, so like, why do you want it? And a lot of those high-functioning systems, like, to do that, it's not the president pushing a button. Somebody launches something, it's automatic, and it's done. People. You know, I mean, they got systems for this shit. I'm not saying that's in every case, but you know what I'm saying? It's not. There's defense mechanisms out there that are automatic. And it just seems so fucking pointless, because the planet will survive even if we're not on it. It means that Mother Nature been trying to shake us off a while, and we're not getting the message, and one of these days she'll just get right pissed and she'll shake us totally. guess what? Nature will come back. Look at the beginning of COVID. Nature came back. We need to do better. Live in harmony and all that. But back to the story. There was something about China, and they were restructuring the military. When it came out, they found that China was pulling from Russia's playbook. You know how a lot of Russian equipment found its way onto the black market. Generals and high officials were pocketing the money, and stuff wasn't getting built right, or it was looking all shiny and pretty, but it was nothing on the outside, or they were saying they're maintaining, and as we've seen with Ukraine, they were not. A lot of money was getting pocketed rather than going into the military, and Chinese military was taking a line from that playbook, and that went into the media, and then because we don't want to show you, but you'd think you'd want to show their weaknesses. Like, look, they're not the big bad, they're not this huge monster. But no, we need an enemy to justify the industrial military complex that we have, which is, you want to talk about a behemoth. Yeah, that is a behemoth. And the military was doing the same kind of play in China. I even read something about rockets or missiles that I'll show you pretty on the outside. There was nothing inside. There was water in one, I think sand in some. Like they weren't functional. And that money, was paid for this, and somewhere it was getting lost in the wind to people. And they had to fit and restructure, and that was just a blip. But see, you don't hear about these things in the mainstream media because the government and the big military industrial complex does not want you to think that there's not some enemy out there for us to fight. And don't you think it would be just like, we don't want an enemy to fight? Just not kumbaya or anything, but just like everybody get along. What's the point? What are you fighting for? None of this belongs to any of us. We are guests here. Again, Mother Nature can shake at any time. Nobody owns anything, really, when you think about it. Lines on a map, they're drawn by man. They're not real. They're real to the people where they're at, where you are. But how many times throughout history have we saw those shift even in our own country? And that was another thing I read in Project 2025 about getting rid of all treaties, agreements, and it was mostly in reference to Ukraine and stuff like that. But basically it was coming off like we need to just abandon, was the word. Abandon treaties and agreements and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, I think Mexico would like a word with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. I think that's how you call it, but how you say it. Pardon if I'm not pronouncing it right. One that gave us Texas and all the way across to SoCal. That was Mexico. Yeah. You want to abandon that treaty? I think Mexico would like a word. I don't think Texas would like it neither, with their fascist movement going on and their secession crap and all the time. Like, no, y'all need to check yourselves. These are real things, people, that I don't think anybody really thinks about. Like, if you know history, and the way they're coming across is, oh, let's just abandon all these. Because they want to abandon any agreements with Ukraine and other, like Taiwan, stuff like that. Well, you're not thinking about the bigger picture in history, but we made do you want to abandon all the treaties, which they pretty much have with the indigenous, but, that was never real anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Do they want to abandon everything? We could go back throughout history if you want to get down to brass tacks about it. There's no Texas anymore. That goes back to Mexico, New Mexico, Arizona, SoCal, all gone back to Mexico. I think they would like that for the income. But I just don't see how people aren't picking up on this stuff. Again, if you read between the lines, if you want to take it literal, I would take it literal and that's what it means. But if you read between the lines, it's picking and choosing and cherry picking what they want to uphold and abandon. They don't want to stand by anything they don't agree with. That's pretty much it. And a point I brought up in my posts on Threads and some of my replies, again, we come back to the Russian misinformation, disinformation campaign, which is never stopped. It has only amplified. Anytime there's an event or something that happens, I have to think at some point that even that pass the torch thing with Biden, that has to do with it, and even some of this noise with the media about age. I'm very suspicious and very skeptical about its start in that manner, because you had GOP members on the floor of the Congress spouting off Russian disinformation and misinformation that has been thoroughly and utterly debunked, and they are spreading their bullshit, and that's exactly where it's coming from. And it was traced back to them, and they are spouting that shit on the floor of our house. So what's to say the Dems didn't fall for that trick too? And then it just got amplified and made the donors nervous, and then the donors started to freak out to the politicians, and then, oh, we're going to pull money. You see the chain reaction that causes when you go into those things? And so many of the GOP, I mean, Reagan himself, which I wasn't a fan of, but he was all anti-Soviet Union. I mean, he wasn't really, yes, it broke up and became Russia, and they're independent, relatively, so, countries, states, what have you, of the former Soviet Union. But we had to amplify and elevate an enemy, and we elevated Russia. And he wasn't really friendly with them or had a great love for them even after, the whole wall came down in Glasnost and all that. But as long as I have been alive, 50 fucking years, I have never in my life up until the last few years seen the GOP ever say or be apologetic or be on the side of Russia as I have in the last 10 years. It blows my fucking mind. They were the most anti-Russia, thinking they were the devil and the most evil scourge on the planet the majority of my life. But now we have GOP members going over there on our own 4th of fucking July for a Russian visit. Come on now. Or they travel there very frequently. Way too frequently. And not on real, like, emissary or ambassador kind of business. Even though it's under the disguise of, governance and politics and this, that, and the other, and good relations, quote unquote. Russia despises the West. They completely despise the West. Their people despise the West. The only thing that they want these people going over there from here is to be like them in their authoritarian state. They want that here. And they're seeing that's their path to having the authoritarian white Christian nationalist state because of all the suppression and everything over there. It's like they're trying to take pages out of their playbook. And the GOP has gotten on that side. And in all my life, I never thought I would see the day. But here we are. I think Reagan would be rolling in his grave right now. I swear. Because they were just so anti. I mean, it went both ways. But to see how the GOP has just fallen into the Russian trap, I mean, that has been their superpower, really. Their just constant bombardment and using the information and the internet against all of us. So that's why how good media consultants are, really. I mean, if it looks a little wonky and you cannot fact check that shit and it's not something on some far right media site, you can pretty much bet it's garbage. I just don't fall for it. And our own media has amplified with this whole Biden thing. And I'm very skeptical about how that started. I mean, yeah, the debate, of course. But supposedly now there were rumblings before, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, really? And you got some of, I've heard some other podcasters, saying that they've been at different functions, and oh yeah, we all saw it. Like, they're jumping on this bandwagon, and it's like, really? I'm a little skeptical. I know they have their loyalties and whatnot, but I'm skeptical. I hear different stories from different people, and they ain't matching up. Somebody's got an agenda, and I get a vibe from some people that, let's just say, I'm not buying what they're selling. And even if that were the case, at this point, I've said, weekend of burden, I'll fucking take it, because he's going to get it done. Biden has will get it done. And Harris is very capable, and she has been in on everything. And the media is not giving her enough credit either. These are the cracks in the media. They're about clicks now. They're not about reporting. And they're not attacking the other side. They're not beating on, again, DJC's a felon. And that whole last night of the emergency, jeez, that was a circus show. That was a circus show. Is that what you think government is? It's entertainment? It's a show? No, it's not. It's hard work. No. Rambling. He went back to his old playbook. Like unity for about a minute. No, he's the whole Messiah thing too was too much. But that's typical for a rally, I'm sure, but it's just that you want to go on Biden for me, Andrew? And just that, look at that dude. And this is not his first time. We've watched him do this a million times already. But yet, Biden has one bad day out in public, and every day since he has been on his game, and he got the COVID, and he's still on his game. Come on now. This equalizing and normalization of this shit, the media is to blame. And they're the ones marching the fascism right in the door and thinking they'll get access. No, they won't. Page 29 and 30 of Project 2025. If I can name you the pages, that's pretty fucking bad. Office of Communications. Read it. And get an idea what they think of the fucking press. It's going to turn into either, if they even survive, it's going to, it reads between the lines to me of like Russian and state media. It's going to be, they'll be disseminating the propaganda from the White House. The Washington, the press room, where they have their, briefing and whatnot. They even say they might reevaluate even having it and getting rid of it for space. The White House Correspondents Group, we might not deal with them anymore and go with another group so that we can relay the information to the people. That's propaganda right there. So Washington Correspondents going to be out. They're going to go with like some Fox Newsy kind of group or Breitbart or some shit. Did you see? The press thinks they're going to have access and an in? No. I've been saying it since the get. Fascism comes, first thing to go. Along with people, is the press. And it comes state media. And either you bow, you bend the knee, or you're gone. And I mean, maybe they're bending the knee in advance thinking that's going to save their ass, but it won't. Because there's history. It's a no-win situation. So the press thinks they can control this narrative and, normalize this far-right bullshit. No. They've lost their mind. But it's the owners at the top. And I mean, even the other day, Morning Joe, and I'm not a fan, but, and I mean, it's just some white privilege. When you are that high up on the ladder of your whiteness that you can sit there on your own show and say, you lie to us again and you pull us off, I'm going to quit. Like, he's on his own show, and I mean, somebody pays him to be there. But that's some privilege right there. I mean, good on him for speaking out. I'm not dismissing that. I'm just saying, wow, not everybody got that privilege. And that's why it's important to find independent media sources. And I'm not talking just influencers. There are a lot of people that are bringing you information. And they have an influencer kind of sphere. Like, but they do have good information. Brother Chris Conlon, Daniel May, Waj Ali, Brian Curran, Dahlia Liquid. There's so many. Ellie Liquid. I mean, they have influence. And I look back into smaller papers that are independent, more media. Like I said, ProPublica is a good one. The Tennessee Caller is a good one. There are others out there. The paper I worked at got bought up. I worked in just around the paper. I put them together in the back. I wasn't like in the media end of it. But it was family owned for years. And then they got bought out by something bigger because they just couldn't keep it afloat because that money, and they need the money coming in, but it only goes so far. And we've lost a lot with local media. And they've all gotten bought up. And here's the trick. A to B to C, people. All these big companies that are buying up all the little guys. And like I said, Sinclair, if you go in that one story, every one of their affiliates was, and it was something that wasn't exactly true, but they are all, it was reframed in such a way, and every one of them, like 80 of them, and you could watch them all side by side, and it was almost verbatim. They're pushing out this story, and that's what we've come to, because you've got the billionaire donor class up here that owns all of this shit, buying and gobbling up all the little stuff, and if they want a story out there, it'll get out there. And they've got the money, and so if they favor a politician, guess what? They're going to see to it that they're going to give them all the good press in all of their their satellites and their affiliates. And you get somebody like Brian Curran and the gentleman he had on today made a good point about Mitch McConnell after the one paper in Kentucky got bought out by Gwinnett. And next year you had Mitch McConnell. He's like, and I agree with him. We're not saying conspiracy, but it is kind of coincidental that you've got big media coming in, gobbling up all the little, family owned or, mom and pop, if you will, kind of papers that have ran for years. And then now they're all pushing the same stories out there, and they're cutting reporters, and where you used to have all these people on one beat, now you have half or not even one, if any, covering different things, and it's all clickbait kind of stories. They're cutting them down. They're cutting everywhere they can for their bank, and if they have some politician, which they're buying off because of Citizens United, that will get on their side and give them the taxes they want and all the access they want, and they're going to push them out there, and they're going to get them elected and get them in, and it's just this vicious circle that keeps going around, and then that media feeds the public opinion. When you see how that goes? That's why media needs broken up. There's not enough competition. Where I live, 2 internet providers. 2. Unless you go satellite and you can get Hughes or you can get Starlink. I think my nurse has Starlink and she loves it, and that's great. But I don't even know if they do it here. I know that she lives in the Boonies in Ohio. So her internet was terrible when she got that, and it was fine for her. But I mean, really, in those options, that's not a lot of choice. Where my folks live, there is one internet provider, like for service. There's one. I think it's the phone company too. There's no choice. Here, it's Verizon or Comcast, and that's it. There's nothing else. I mean, when I first moved here and internet came in, it was in the 90s. I had, I think, AT&T. I think when it was dial-up. This was so long ago. So long ago. But now when you try to get high speed for AT&T where I live, you can't get high speed. You can only get Verizon or Comcast. You can get it in other places, but you can't get it here. But I had AT&T dial-up back in the day. But this was that was a long time ago. That's just what I'm saying. There's no competition out there. And that happened, and like I said, the newspaper where I worked got bought up, and then they wanted to merge with one in another one close to us, and they booted us all out the door unless we wanted to take a job and travel to there to work, and it just wasn't. It was not cost effective. I mean, we worked a couple hours a night, except on the weekends we worked longer if there were big papers or stuff like that. It just wasn't worth it in the middle of the night to do that for the majority of us, and we got booted. And I've seen the paper just diminish in its quality, staff-wise. But I mean, that's where we're at, because, people can go to the internet and get a lot of independent media and stuff like that, but I think if it were intertwined in such a way that it would make it useful to have both. I know there's plenty of independent media sources, like, say, ProPublica, that does really great investigative journalism work and exposes, that's how we got the Clarence Thomas and the Alito stuff and all kinds of things out of them that have been going on in the world, and people really need to follow them and support them. They are so on their game, and they do fabulous work. It really, the money's not there, but the corporate higher ups have just choked it off to local. That what can they do? And it's really sad in a way that we're in this place that corporate has just gobbled up everything. And everybody says, oh, go to the mom and pops, don't do the Walmart, but Walmart runs all the mom and pops out. Yeah, but it's hard when they're just corporates gobbling up everything. And the past administrations, it started with Reagan, that they wouldn't, the FTC, he signed a lot of, that they didn't have to go after monopolies as much. We might let you slide. and pretty much every Republican administration has done that. And guess what? Every Republican administration since Reagan has tanked the economy. And guess who always drags it back out? Democrats. But we don't get any credit for it. I mean, that side never gets any credit for it. Yep. Always go back and look. Go back and look. So their policies were not actually the best. And most Republican administrations would not go after big companies to break them up. They wouldn't. And they just keep letting them merge and merge and merge. And this administration has tried to stop a lot of it. I think they've taken Amazon. I think there's some stuff on Google, maybe Apple in play. But, I mean, they're trying to just stop it. And I think Biden now is right pissed enough with what corporate media has done. Pitting, Biden versus Biden rather than Biden versus dictatorship. Biden versus white Christian nationalism. Biden versus no more democracy anymore. On the other side, they're not framing it right. I think he's right pissed enough that we get him over that finish line, he's gonna compound it with that hammer because he's to the point. He's done his time. He's done his job for all these years, and now he has a vision, and it's expanded to a point that it might not have been 20, 30 years ago, but he knows this is his last ride. This is his last rodeo. And he wants to do the most he can to help the people and do the best that he can for them and try to plug the holes in this ship and finish it out. Because I think when he started in 2020, it was, a one-term thing, but I don't think he foresaw what we now are facing with this whole Project 2025 and the whole authoritarian white Christian movement, just the white Christian nationalist movement just going like a rocket. And him and his administration and Harris are the only thing to stop that. And so he just wants to finish it out, plug up the holes, and make sure he leaves it good to sail. And I think he's just right pissed enough at the media now. He's just like, YOLO. You only live once. Fuck it. I'm going to come after you. And good on him if he does. He should do it now. I think that would rally a lot of people to him. But I just really wanted to come on and say, just watch the corporate media. I mean, I have a couple I can still watch. Joy Reid, Kate Thang, Lawrence O'Donnell. That's about it. CNN's gone. Total circus. They had George Conway on there with that Jennings guy. Jennings was outright lying. And Conway called him on it. And they yelled at Conway for calling on, we don't talk to our colleagues that way kind of thing. I was like, he's lying. They didn't even fact check them damn selves. And Joy Reid's back on her game with 2025. So you can bet your ass she's shaking that shit down. And follow her on Threads and Twitter and stuff. I follow on Threads. Threads is so much more peaceable, nicer. But she's laying the smackdown. Like, y'all need to pay attention. Follow them. They will lead the way. Because they do. Black folks and other marginalized minorities, what have you, they're leading. They know because they've had to fight for freedom. And they have had to fight their way out of the hole that they were put in back in the day. And even continuing to this day. It's a rung way down less than others. And I am not saying I can relate on a total level. Not God no. But I can understand because of the marginalization of when you are coming from something where you are in abject poverty. And the marginalization and the dehumanization and the negativity attached to you, especially when you have children, is the worst fucking thing. Not as bad as like the black folks and other indigenous and everybody else in history has had to go through. Not nearly, but you know what I'm saying? It's horrible, especially when you have children. And you have to navigate that landscape and not understand why people, I had to navigate it. I didn't understand why people called me names. I mean, other than being a redhead, but or looked down on me, or condescended me, or treated me like shit, or treated me like I was just trash. I didn't have any choice in being poor. I was born where I was born, and our community was a rural, farming, coal, no opportunity freaking community. It was low level kind of job, and that was it. Like, there was nothing there other than those things. And farming, coal mine, low level job. That was it. And now it's a ghost town. I mean, it's not a ghost town. The county has been more and more abandoned because Reagan came in and they're buying up everything, and people are just gone. I mean, I see so much as the landscape has changed when I go to visit my family. And I mean, that's where we are and where I came from, and the marginalization from that was very hard to overcome. And it is hard because poverty has walls between you and the outside world, and you're trying to get anything in the outside world that is even close to attaining some semblance of normalcy, quote unquote, and betterment. There is a minefield and a million roadblocks, and if you in that place, they don't want you there. The system is set up to keep you in your place. God forbid you get through those walls. You know? And it is no wonder that people give up with time. You know? I can totally understand that. I mean, I could totally see why you would. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying I could totally see why you would. Because there have been times I've been just like tapping out. You know, I would love to tap out, but it's just not in my nature. Although lately, I have to say my body's kind of trying to tell me, like, you know, maybe I should just stop trying to overdo it so much. Pay more attention. It's just working the grind every day. It takes a toll when you're managing a body 24/7, full time, just to keep it going. You know, it makes you go, okay, can I retire again? But it's too expensive, so no. But I mean, I understand that, and so when you see the minority communities saying, no, we're backing our quarterback, we're backing Biden Harris, follow them. They know the way. They've helped bail us out so many times as a country. And I think they don't get the credit they deserve for how much they have done. That even when, say, women's rights, it was black women, it was white women, it was all women coming together saying we want our rights. And I just think people forget that, especially as a woman, I am so very much on the side of all of us women. Mobilize, get engaged, get activated, get involved. Because what's coming for us is horrific. I mean, The Handmaid's Tale is supposed to be a cautionary fiction, and Project 2025 and the white Christian nationalist movement is using it as an instruction manual. That is horrific. I mean, no. So, yeah, get on board. And that's what I say to those Beltway folks in the donor class that thinks they're going to pick the ticket for us. I think we all need to step up and say, hell no. You don't pick the ticket, we do. You back our plays. You don't like it? Take your ass somewhere else and Beltway folks and you turncoat traders in the Dems. They know how to primary you next time around. And people won't forget. Some people are highly looking past you right now come election time. So, and they're willing to lose a seat. That's how much you piss them off. So Beltway folks, you don't like your job? You don't think, you can win without that big money? Well, then maybe you don't need to do your job and you need to turn in your keys and go home and find another job. I know they're in highly contested races and, it's challenging. But if they would get out there and do the job that they're elected to do and stump for them damn selves, because that is what their election is about, stumping for them damn selves, incumbency has its benefits. They want to, Biden to win for them. He's running for the president. Him and Harris are running for their ticket in their jobs. Anybody else is to run on their ticket for their job. They don't. You can help each other out, but it's not his job to win for you. So get off your ass and do your job if you want to get elected, and present that to the people. And if you don't want to do that without big money, then you need to turn in your keys, as AOC says, and go home. For those ones in the silent majority, it's silent, believe it or not, they're speaking, the invisible people behind the scenes saying, oh, they know Trump's gonna win. No, the only reason they think that is because when you want to present a strongman attitude, you will come out guns blazing like you are the biggest shit in the fucking planet. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna steamroll. They're gonna make it bigger and brasher and more gaudy and just extra. So it's a Jedi mind trick kind of thing. It's reverse psychology. Oh, we're gonna tell you all this stuff, even though not a damn bit of it's true. They think it's true, and we're gonna present it as true, and make you think you've already lost. No, we haven't lost, and they don't have as much as they're letting you think they got on the right. They don't. No. I had a trip, I mentioned there, when I saw all the Trump signs. I had to take that same trip again the other day, after the RNC ended, on Friday afternoon. A lot of those Trump signs were gone. There were some, the Confederate flag was still up, and with a flag, a U.S. flag beside it, which that was an addition. Just blasphemy. You don't put a Confederate flag and a U.S. flag together. That's like oil and water. You just don't do that. That one was still there, obviously. And then another one in Egart, and those were the and I think somebody else had some flaggy thing. I think that one was there before, but all the rest were gone. I didn't see them. So, people, I do not think that you need to sit back and be all defeatist and think we're already beaten, because we're not, number one. They're going to present like that. You want to come out strong. If you want to be the strong candidate, you want to come out, full on. I get it. But that doesn't mean that that's what's actually behind you. That's how you're presenting. Presenting a certain way is not necessarily the actual reality on the ground. And don't sit your ass at home and not vote either. Do it. Again, last time. You don't do it right, and we're going to go into a hellscape. And even if we can, and Trump doesn't take it, say by Electoral College or the lawsuits or SCOTUS, if we can keep the Senate and expand and get the House, that will at least be a check We need to at least keep some checks. We've lost the judiciary. We've lost the vice presidency if he wins as a check, like we had with Pence. So we need to keep something. So that is why it is so important to vote. Now, he doesn't have it written in stone he's going to win. He just thinks he does, because that's what he wants to believe. And he is of that narcissism and power trip ego that if I don't win, it's not fair. No, he's just a big, overgrown, aged child. He's a child in a grown body that's throwing a temper tantrum because he watched. And he don't like it. I've already lost a couple times. And remember, folks, all you Maggies out there, he ran as president as an independent before. And guess what? When he first ran back in, what was it, the late 80s, early 90s, he ran as a Democrat. The only reason he kept changing parties to suit whatever his agenda was, and he ended up with the GOP, was they were the ones he could grift. They were the ones he could fool into buying his bullshit, and they were the only ones that would take him. So, there you have that. Go look at that shit. He's a con man. He's a criminal. The way he views women, and that new sidekick he's got, the patriarchy and misogyny, those are kind words. Because I have a few choice others for their sadism. It's madness. And as women, we need to take our power back. And the only way to do that is get involved and get with the program. But be mindful of your media sources. This whole noise right now is big donors wanting to pull their money. We the people need to show up and say, no, we make the rule. We make the choice in who our ticket is, not you. You're not buying us. And we need to support our people and our ticket and those we want to see go forward. And hold our nose and blow up and down the ticket blue. Get that trifecta, because we need it. But that's what this is right now. It is being amplified by corporate media because of the higher ups. And Morning Joe is a perfect example when they got bumped from the RNC the first day. And that was a play. And just be mindful and be on the side of right on this one. Be on the right side of history. But be careful about where you get your information from. Especially on social media. The bots are everywhere. The conspiracy theory shit is everywhere. Just be mindful. All of my opinions and my thoughts are my own, like I said about Vance, and it just seems awfully suspect. He's got ties, apparently, to Project 2025, which is no shock. They're funded by billionaires. Trump is funded by a billionaire. They're all tied in together. They're puppets at this point of the money class. And it seems like a question that the media should be asking. Trump is this age and Vance is this age. And we know Trump got a lot of liabilities. And he's been meandering for a while, a long while. And you see, he doesn't get a lot of public appearances. Biden was out all the time. The day after the shooting, he was golfing. No bandage, by the way. No bandage. That was a show for the convention. And then after the debate, he golfed for like a week and a half. He wasn't out. He's not out there every day like Biden is. Why is that? He falls asleep, he talks, and he rambles. If you go back and look, he's been doing, when he has been out, he's been doing that for a long time. It's just gotten worse. So how long is it before they push him aside or get him to step back and throw Vance in there? How long? because you know that's in the conversation. That is not a conspiracy theory. That's just my thought. That would be, if they're playing the long game, as they have been on this 4D chess they've been playing for all these years, don't you think that would be in play in the conversation? I think it would be. So why is the media not asking that question? Because it looks awfully suspicious to me. Just saying. Anyway, folks, just keep in mind those things. Ohio, go check your voter registration. And if you are in Ohio and you're not registered, go freaking get registered. Go get registered everywhere. Every state. All of you. Just do it. I didn't want to do it either for the longest time. I thought it didn't matter. But yes, it actually does. Because say somebody you don't want to win the electoral college. I mean, look at Hillary and Trump in 16. She won the popular vote. He got the college. But still, we had enough in the House and the Senate, we could stop it. And the law at the time to stop his shit. Like the Schedule F that is in Project 2025. You know, things like this, we've had the checks, and we need to at least hold some of that. At the very barest minimum. But I would like us to be on the right side of history in this one. And just kick all of this shit to the curb. And I never thought it would matter, but I've been seeing more and more people turn out and turn up, and it has mattered. But we need to get those margins up there. We need to get our voices, because that margin shows how many people are on that side. So even though she didn't win the electoral college, she won the popular vote. So that shows people are on that side of those things. And we need to step up as people. And if we want to get the donor class out of there, then we need to get people in there that'll pass that and get Citizens United kicked to the curb. If we want that power back, and we want our power back as people, we need to get the people in there that will do the job. And we need to advocate for this every single fucking day. Democracy is work. It is messy. It is not easy. It is not something you sit on your laurels on. It is something you need to work at. So I encourage people to go do so. And watch where you're getting your news, and watch where you're getting your media, and check on these things. And I know the corporate right now is noise, so turn it the fuck off. Go to your independent media sources. There are a lot of good folks on YouTube who deliver solid information on the daily on various things. Heck, Bo was even talking about Russian tanks today, and more education about Russian tanks than you'd ever want to know. T-62s, T-64s, T-80s, you know. The year, put a 19 in front of it. It's tank year. Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's interesting information if you wanted to learn something. There are people you can get good information from, and solid information from. And independent media, as far as paper, digital, like ProPublica, Tennessee Hall, and things like that. They give good solid information. Democracy Doctor talks about the law. Slate with Dahlia Lithwick and Mark Joseph Stern about the law is always very good. And it's good to keep up with the law, because the judiciary, as we have seen, has decided to declare itself and coordinate itself an governing body. So this is why, and amicus today with Dahlia Lithwick, and the lady judge, I cannot remember her name, she's from Canada. Canada's Supreme Court is a little bit different than ours. She makes me want to move to Canada, just because. Anyway, those are good things to listen to, or go look after. But there are good sources out there. But just don't mind all the noise. But again, I will keep preaching it. Get your voices out there. Say you don't want to hear this crap. Start pounding the other side. It is Biden versus the other side. It is Biden-Harris versus the other side. That needs to be the focus, and pound that other side. Because they have a million chinks in their armor. We just got to keep hitting them. And they will crumble. They will crumble. So, everybody, you have a good weekend. Take care. Go vote. Go register. And then vote. Peace out.